Since the baton was passed, hopping down, cause feeling's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Welcome to a new episode of That Is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative on the things I care about. And today, I have a great guest with me today. It's just so much pain and tragedy that's going on in the world, especially the silent genocide that's going on in the DRC, the Congo. And my special guest today is Maurice Carney. He is the executive director and the founder of Friends of Congo. He has people on the ground that's giving him the information of what's going on in the Congo, because right now we have basically 7 million people of Congo that's displaced. Since 1996, it's been over, I do believe, 6 million people that has been massacred since that time. So I have him with me today. Maurice Carney, how you doing, sir? Thank you for coming on the show.
Good. I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us to be here. And I'm one of the co-founders. I can't take all the credit. Our brother Paul Pumphrey and our sister Carrie Crawford. We gathered along with a Congolese mentor and guy by the name of Alafuele Mbui Kalala to form Friends of the Congo over 20 years ago or so.
It is amazing what the work you guys doing over there. But my next question that I ask all my guests that comes on, because I'm an advocate for mental health. And my question to you, how's your heart at this moment?
Oh, good. My wife is a fitness expert and nutritionist, and so she keeps me in tune, in spite of a lot of the tragedy that we deal with on the ground. And there are a couple of things around that, actually. One is I'm not on the front line, so I don't have to deal with it day in and day out. And we're not just talking about, the violence and the atrocities that we see. But one thing you'll know about the Congo, once you get to the Congo, everything is harder, right? Everything is more stressful, in the sense that things move slower. It's difficult to get around. We could be having an interview right now in the Congo, and the electricity will go out just like that, and it won't be on for the rest of the day or maybe tomorrow. You just don't know. So just daily life where you have some 60 million people or so living on less than $2 a day, that creates a stressful environment in and of itself, because what that means is for those people, the bulk of their time is consumed with trying to find something to eat for themselves, something to eat for their family, for their children. In Kinshasa, they have there's a saying. It's a French saying. It goes, "Je me débrouille," right? It means I do what I have to. I do what is necessary to survive, right? So just daily life is stressful in of itself. Now, one of the things that I do personally to protect myself and to keep some level of balance is I ask our folks on the ground not to send me any graphic photos, right? Decapitated heads or, bodies cut open or any of that stuff. I just say, with all due respect, I'm not going to share it anyways. I'm not going to put it out there. So please don't send any of those photos. One of our brothers on the front line in the heart of the rainforest, in his village, it's in a place called Isangi, in the district, and the people have just been displaced, as you were talking about, right? The number of people displaced, and they've been attacked, and has videos and photos of just horrible things. I haven't seen them, just based on what he's told me and the news reports I've read, and I shared with them, okay, we want to get this out, but please just send pictures of the people who maybe have the suitcases on their heads or trying to, basically just trying to get to safety. Even one of my colleagues, she was like, "It's okay, send me the pictures." And then after a few days, she's like, "Don't send any more pictures."
Wow.
So that aspect that you bring up in terms of the mental health, those on the front lines and those who are receiving those pictures, you have to really protect yourself so that you can actually do the work and mobilize global support for those people who are in the front lines. So that's how we matriculate throughout the day and over time in terms of trying to maintain some modicum of balance and lucidity and clarity, so that you can have the space in your head to be creative, to come up with different ways of trying to mobilize people and trying to get support for arguably the greatest humanitarian crisis at the dawn of the 21st century.
And it is, and I do believe that this violence just didn't come out of the blue. There's
No, no,
historic lineage to this conflict going
yeah,
back
yeah,
to when Belgium colonized the Congo area,
yeah,
led by King Leopold II,
right,
which
right,
under
right.
his terrorism, I'm gonna call it terrorism because that's what it was,
That's putting
which
it kindly.
which led to the massacre of over, I think, was it 12,000? No, not 12,000. I mean, let me go rewind. 12 million Congolese people's life in that time.
Mhm. Yes.
So if you can connect the dots from King Leopold II to now,
Mhm.
connect the two
Sure,
dots.
sure. And the King Leopold II era, right, really represents the second major encroachment of Europeans on the African continent, and where the Congo region bore the brunt of that European encroachment. The first one was in the late 1400s when Europeans were trafficking Africans from the continent to the Americas. And almost half of the Africans that were trafficked from the continent to the Americas by European powers came out of the Congo region, right? Uh, Emory University has a database where they document this information, and they say 4 out of every 10 Africans that were trafficked during the period of enslavement came out of the Congo region. So that was really the first incursion on the part of Europeans in this 500-year tragic epoch that we've experienced as people of African ancestry. The second major incursion came in 1884, 1885, what they call the Berlin Conference, that was presided over by Otto von Bismarck of Germany, or some 14 European nations or so, also including the United States. The thing is that the Europeans, after having exploited, right, the human capital of Africa, the labor and the intellectual capital, now they came back for the exploitation of the natural resources. And in doing that, in an effort for them to prevent going to war against each other, they gathered in Berlin around table, and they established their spheres of influence on the African continent. France would get certain parts of Africa, Germany would get, Spain, Portugal, the works.
Right.
Now, Congo in that whole scenario was special because it wasn't colonized, right? Not at the Berlin Conference. It was given to King Leopold II of Belgium as his own personal property. He owned it outright. And within a 23-year period, from 1885 to 1908, the population was decimated by half, right? Some say it's an estimated 10 to 15 million Congolese perished as the king extracted rubber and ivory, ostensibly to feed or fuel burgeoning industries in the West, the bicycle industry and ultimately the auto industry. And his rule was so atrocious and so deadly that there was an international outcry for him to give up the Congo. And the in 1908, right? He gave up the Congo and he got about $1 billion in today's dollar equivalent for giving it up. But when he gave it up, right, Congo didn't go back to the Congolese. It went to the Belgian state. And then Belgium ruled it as a colonial outpost from 1908 to 1960. Now, this lays the imprint of what the essence of what the struggle of the Congo is, and Africa writ large. And that is for Congolese and Africans to reclaim control of their own affairs, reclaim control of their land, reclaim control of their economy. So this is really the central quest of the Congolese. That control, and of Africans, that control has been taken away, right? And the effort taken away to the tremendous detriment, of the Congolese people. And the effort has been, to reclaim that control. And there's a Congolese professor that wrote a really good book called Congo from Leopold to Kabila, A People's Struggle. His name is Georges Nzengola Ntalaja, and he documents the people's struggle. It's really a takeoff of Howard Zinn's A People's History, of America. So it documents the Congolese people's struggle to reclaim their sovereignty, right? And that's the struggle of the Congolese, and that's the struggle of the Africans that persist to this very day.
And I think again, when we get into this conversation, is that there is a complex situation because you have different tribal groups that's trying to get power. Can you talk about the dynamic of the tribal groups?
Yeah, and to put that into context, right? I shared with you that Belgium ruled the Congo from 1908 to 1960, and Congo got its independence in 1960. And in advance of getting its independence, they had an elections among the Congolese to see who would rule the Congo. And you had different tribal groups, ethnic groups, putting their position forward for the Congolese people to vote on. And what the Congolese people did, brother, is that they voted for a party called the Congolese National Movement, right? Congo National Movement, MNC, Mouvement National Congolais in French. And it was a political party that was founded by Patrice Lumumba, who wound up he was one of Congo's independence heroes, and wound up being Congo's first democratically elected prime minister. And the platform of the Congolese national movement, right, was non-ethnic, non-regional, right, nationalist, and Pan-Africanist. That was their platform. And the Congolese people embraced that, right? So that gives you a sense of the spirit of the Congolese people at that time. This was in 1960, right? And so Lumumba was elected as prime minister, and he clearly articulated that he wanted Congo's wealth to be utilized for the benefit, first and foremost, of Congolese, right? And secondly, of Africans at large, right? Because he was a Pan-Africanist, and he saw Congo state as being inextricably tied to the fate of Africa as a whole. And you know what happened with Patrice Lumumba?
It was assassinated.
And it stands.
He was assassinated.
This didn't sit well with the United States or Belgium, right? Mm-hmm. So what they did was the United States invested the largest dollar amount in a covert action to overthrow democratically elected leader in history, right? The covert action that the United States mounted, led by the CIA in 1960, was the largest in the world at the time.
And also, if my history is right, the gentleman that was his vice president was the one that backstabbed him and became
a close friend of his, right? Yeah. Who was his secretary at one point, and Lumumba named him the head of the military. He worked in cahoots with the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the chief of station of the Congo at the time. His name is Larry Devlin. And he wrote a book called Chief of Station Congo, where he laid out how he corrupted Mobutu and other Congolese elites in an effort to overthrow the democratically elected prime minister. So you had the United States, the CIA, Belgium, United Kingdom, United Nations were all arrayed against Lumumba. Like he didn't stand a chance, right, to overthrow this leader that was elected by the people, and in whose and the people whose aspirations they entrusted their aspirations to Lumumba. But not only the United States overthrow Lumumba, they facilitated his assassination, right? And all this was done in less than 7 months. They didn't give him a chance, right? Because as Malcolm X famously said that Lumumba was the greatest African that ever walked the continent. Part of the reason why he said that is because Lumumba couldn't be bought out. He couldn't be reached. He couldn't be persuaded to by riches or anything that the West had to offer. Lumumba loved Congolese, loved Africans, and he loved freedom. And that made him a very dangerous man. So not only did the United States overthrow Patrice Lumumba, but what they did then was they installed a dictatorship. They installed Mobutu, right, as a dictator of the Congo. And they even went further. When the Congolese rose up to get rid of Mobutu, then the U.S. came in. They bombed, dissidents. They got proxy forces to shut down any kind of uprising. And they basically maintained Mobutu in power for over 3 decades. So what we see today in the Congo, where an estimated 6 million people have perished, that the conditions that we see in the Congo, the United States has played a major role in the way things are in the Congo today. And they really did that when they overthrew and played a role in the assassination of Lumumba and then installed and maintained Mobutu. And when Mobutu, the dictator, was near the end of his reign, and the Congolese people were getting stronger in terms of grassroots pro-democracy movement, to get him out of power, what the United States did then, instead of supporting the grassroots democratic aspirations of the people, and they should have, rightfully, especially considering U.S. history in the country, they instead backed an invasion of the Congo through their agents, Paul Kagame of Rwanda and Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. They invaded the Congo twice, once in 1996, again in 1998. And those 2 invasions triggered the death of an estimated 6 million Congolese, what the United Nations says is the deadliest conflict in the world since World War II. And that conflict is still simmering to this very day. And people may ask, why? Why the conflict? Why is the Congo in the condition that it is in? For a host of reasons, but Wangari Maathai, she's a Nobel Peace Prize laureate from Kenya. People may remember her. She said, when you see these conflicts unfolding on the African continent and elsewhere, it's almost always about resources and who's going to control them. And the conflict in the Congo is not fundamentally different. The Congo is tremendously endowed, right, with precious and strategic minerals. Just as in the late 1800s, they had rubber that was vital for the auto industry, right? Today they have cobalt. And cobalt, you cannot have electric vehicles without cobalt. So the transition from combustion engine to electric vehicles, the advent of a clean energy, a green energy transition is dependent in large part upon the cobalt coming out of the Congo. In Congo, if you were to add up all the countries in the world that produce cobalt, right, they don't equal what Congo produces by itself. Congo produces 70% of the world's cobalt. So it is key. And cobalt is just one mineral. There's coltan, which is critical for our cell phones, electronic devices, laptops, you name it. They have nickel, they have uranium, they have copper. Congo is just tremendously wealthy. The European geologists at the dawn of the 20th century said Congo was a geological scandal. Why? Because there's so much wealth packed into one location. And that is in the heart of the African continent, right? So it's arguably the richest country on the planet in terms of natural resources. Economists today say there's an estimated $24 trillion worth of wealth in the Congo. That's equivalent to the gross domestic product of the United States. So imagine if this wealth was controlled by Lumumba, a Pan-Africanist, or even today it's controlled by the Congolese. It can make a tremendous difference, not only for the Congo, but for Africa overall. In fact, brother, when the CIA overthrew Lumumba, in his book, Larry Devlin said, we had to overthrow Lumumba, because if we didn't overthrow Lumumba, not only would we have lost the Congo, but we would have lost all of Africa. So if you can envision the African continent as a body,
Yeah.
right? And Congo is the heart. And what happens in the Congo affects the entire body. The extent to which Congo, Africa advances or is retarded in its development is determined in large part by what happens in the heart of the African continent, in the Congo. We're talking about a space the size of Western Europe, straddling the equator, fourth largest country on the continent in terms of population, with an estimated 100 million people, second largest in terms of its area, land area. And it's a country, as I shared with you, tremendously endowed with natural resources. But not only that, brother, Congo has the agricultural capacity to feed 2 billion people. That's almost twice the population of the African continent as a whole, which is 1.3 billion. If they were to maximize their hydro capacity, not that I'm in support of it because it's not necessarily environmentally friendly, they could provide electricity for the entire African continent, right? So not only is it rich, not only is it endowed with incredible wealth, but it's also strategically located in the heart of the African continent. And it's really the fulcrum on which the continent swings. Therefore, Congo is of importance and value and significance to every African on the African continent and every African in the global African family, because the extent to which Congo is free and liberated is the same extent to which Africa will be free and liberated. And once Africa is free and liberated, the African world will be free and liberated. So this is a key element of the Congo. That's why Frantz Fanon, the great Martinican activist, scholar, psychiatrist, said that the fate of all of us, in his book, African World Revolutions, he said the fate of all of us is at stake in the Congo.
And
I'm sorry for going so long on that, but I
no.
just wanted to drive that point home.
This is important to me because, again, I'm coming into this conversation learning. Like I've done my research, but it's important to talk to someone that's been in that work for most of his life that
Yes.
you've been. And so it's important that I'm listening and taking it in because, again, it's a great way to separate what's real and what's not real, especially in this digital age that we live in, like social media. Everything is built on algorithm. So just to have a one-on-one conversation with you is important. So like when my listeners watch, they have a great perspective of what's going down. Like again,
Right.
like violence doesn't just happen out of the blue.
No.
It's a lineage of things that happen over decades.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting? This conflict, this violence, this instability couldn't happen without the United States and the United Kingdom. Couldn't have continued the way it has. First of all, it wouldn't have started without the backing of the United States, because the United States provided arms, financing, equipment, intelligence, training to the aggressor nations, right? And when international bodies like the International Court of Justice, other United Nations tried to hold those U.S. Puppets, let's say, U.S. agents, the Kagames and the Kagames of Rwanda and Museveni's of Uganda, try to hold them accountable, the U.S. runs interference and blocks, right? Prevent them from being held to account. So we have a situation where there are three key phenomena that allows, facilitates the perpetuation of the violence. One is impunity. There's rampant impunity that's unfolding in the region. Two is accountability. There's lack of accountability. And three is justice, lack of justice. And the United States has played a key role in assuring that the impunity continues, accountability is not put on the table, and justice is not delivered. So that's where we come in. We need to pressure our government, pressure the corporations on this side, so that they do right by the Congolese people, and especially knowing what's at stake. That it's not just the Congolese people, but it's the future of Africa and the future of the African world that's at stake in our getting a stable Congo where Congolese control and determine their own affairs. Because once they do that, it can unleash this force that can propel the African continent to incredible heights. And it's not just me saying this, right? Our independence heroes, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Sekou Touré of Guinea, Modibo Keita of Mali, Felix Mumier of Cameroon, they all gathered to embrace the Congo and say, hey, in this Pan-African project that we're undertaking, the United States of Africa, and Nkrumah said, we want Congo to be the capital of the United States of Africa, right? Mm-hmm. So the Pan-African ideal is the center of Africa, so the center of the Congo. So if you're a Pan-Africanist, you got to center the Congo. If you're coming in the tradition of Nkrumah, you're coming in the tradition of Touré, if you're coming in the tradition of Fanon, if you're coming in the tradition of Keita, right? If you're not coming in those traditions, right, then you're not really upholding the Pan-African tradition. And that tradition says Congo is pivotal to the Pan-African project. Congo is central to the Pan-African project. Congo is vital to the future of the African continent. So that's why we need today, brothers and sisters from around the world rallying around the Congolese. And Lumumba, in his last letter to his wife, literally from the grave, he prophesied this. He said to the Congolese people in that letter, he said, we're not alone. He said, Africa, Asia, free and liberated people from every corner of the world will always be found at the side of the Congolese. So that's the spirit of Friends of the Congo. We're rallying people in the spirit of Lumumba so that people from throughout the globe, Africans, can be found at the side of the Congolese as we continue the tradition of the great Pan-Africanists that preceded us.
And it's an important thing you brought up, how the U.S. played a major role. I think, was it back in 2006, Obama declared an executive order 13413, saying, the United States would bring like humanitarian aid and things like that. So
it was a bill that he got passed into law, right? The Democracy Promotion, Democracy Promotion Relief Act. As you Public Law 109456, that one of the signature legislations of Barack Obama when he was a senator, that called on the United States to hold its allies accountable if they are found to be destabilizing the Congo. And of course, Obama himself did very little to enforce that law, and very few of the presidents that have come since have enforced that law. So that's one of the things laws we've advocated around to try and get the U.S. to enforce. But as you know, getting the U.S. to do right is an arduous task. But the U.S. has played a key role, a vital role in where Congo is today. There's a recent book that just came out last month in October, called the Lumumba Plot, written by a gentleman by the name of Stuart Reed. And he lays out in detail the role that the United States played in bringing Congo to its knees, basically, and laying it prostrate like it is today. So the U.S. has played a huge role in the current situation that we find in the Congo today.
And I have another question. This is the last question.
Sure.
I'm hearing everything about the rebel group, M23.
Right.
Who is M23?
Yes, M23. That's right. So M23. Well, this is what has happened. Recall I shared with you that Rwanda and Uganda invaded Congo twice, right?
Yes.
1996 and 1998. It took other African nations. Rwanda and Uganda were backed by the United States and the United Kingdom, but it took other African nations, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola, right, to come in, Zambia, and beat back Rwanda and Uganda, right, so that they would couldn't control the Congo in the interest of their suitors in the West, right? So even as the Southern African nations, they call it Southern African Development Community, beat back Rwanda and Uganda to the point where they had to arrive at a peace treaty like in 2002. What Rwanda and Uganda have done since is to maintain proxy groups in the Congo so that they can continue to destabilize the Congo, so they can continue to extract the gold, the timber, the coltan, the tin out of the Congo, right, to buttress their economies, right? Recall I told you that the Pan-Africanists rallied around the Congo, supported the
Right.
Congo, right? So today you have African leaders who are destabilizing the Congo, destroying the Congo. And some people try to put up to us that, hey, Kagame is a Pan-Africanist. Hey, Museveni is a Pan-Africanist. No, we know what Pan-Africanists are. They're not doing what Nkrumah did.
Right.
They're not doing what Sekou Touré did. They're not doing what Modibo Keita did. They're not doing what Fanon did, right? So they can't be Pan-Africanists. They definitely don't come in the Pan-African tradition that we're aware of. So the M23 is just the latest name that's been given to a series of rebel groups that has been working at the behest of Rwanda and Uganda ever since the other African nations pushed them back out of Congo, right? Then they support militia groups inside of the Congo. And the M23 is just the latest of that militia group that's destabilizing, occupying parts of the east of Congo, continuing to perpetuate the conflict so that Rwanda and Uganda can continue to benefit from Congo's wealth to the detriment of the Congolese people.
Wow. Oh man, this has been an amazing conversation. I can like have this conversation with you for like 2 hours if it's possible. My this is my last question.
Okay.
Why should we care what's going on in the Congo? Again, especially where you got so much conflict going on. You got the Palestinian-Israel conflict. You got Ukraine. Just conflicts around the world. Why should we focus on what's going on in Congo?
For two key reasons, really. One is because of the tragedy that's unfolding. It's a scar on the conscience of humanity to have 6 million Black people dead in the heart of Africa, and then people don't really care, right? So if you value Black life, then you care about what's happening in the Congo, right? Just it's as simple as that. And the second part is we should care because of the potential that exists there among the people and certainly the resources, right? That Congo is stabilized, as I shared with you, then that's going to advance Africa and the African world. That should be of concern to all of us, right? In addition to that, Congo is a part of the second largest rainforest in the world. It's vital in the fight against climate change, right? The climate crisis. In fact, the Congo sequesters more carbon than all of the tropical rainforests combined. So if you're concerned about the planet and the climate crisis, you got to be concerned about what's happening in the Congo, right? In addition to that, Congo is indispensable to the clean energy transition. You know, going from the combustion engine to the electric vehicles, to the solar panels, to the wind turbines, the whole bit. As I shared with you about Congo's cobalt is key. So if you're concerned about clean energy transition and having a habitable planet, which is connected to the climate crisis, then you got to be concerned about what's unfolding in the Congo. So Congo, for a whole host of reasons, right, should garner our attention, should secure our solidarity. And let me say this. The people on the front lines in the Congo, they have the answers, right?
Mm.
They have the solutions, right, for regaining control of the Congo. But they have an array of forces aligned against them. Their local elites aligned against them, right? Neighboring countries aligned against them. Multilateral institutions like the World Bank and the IMF aligned against them, right? Uh, Multinational corporations, the mining companies and the major tech companies and auto companies aligned against them, right? So all these forces aligned against Congolese people, they're reaching out to us and say, we want the people to be aligned with us. The average person on the street, you and me, to be in collaboration, in solidarity with the Congolese people. And through Friends of the Congo, we serve as a bridge, a connector to those on the front lines. We have a network of organizations that we're in partnership with. They account for about 10% of the 145 territories that's in the Congo, about 2 million people. And what they're trying to do is scale the resistance movement, scale the movement for sovereignty. And each and every one of you can play a role in supporting that effort. Just go to our website, friendsofthecongo.org, hit us up on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Congo Friends, and we'll lay out for you the 1, 2, 3 as to how you can support that sovereignty movement in the Congo, that movement for self-sufficiency and self-determination. And for those of you who are super brave and courageous, you can come with us. Every summer we take a delegation to the Congo. You can be a part of that delegation where you can meet these folks on the front lines, face to face, break bread with them, ground with them, and get a deeper understanding of the dignified struggle that these courageous people are leading in the heart of the African continent. Not just to transform the heart of the African continent, but transform the continent as a whole, and by extension, the global African family.
Oh man, it's been an amazing conversation. Thank you, sir, for coming on.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
I always say, just like with Palestine, when you dehumanize a group, you justify the violent act, and that's one of the stages of colonization. Um, Again, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for building this bridge to this conversation on the Congo. All the links will be in the description below. And this
Okay.
is another amazing conversation. That is Not a Noun podcast. And I will see you soon. Peace.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.